Mr. Hankey, the Christmas Poo. If you want to spice up your holiday decor with a cool guy like this, I made him in just a few hours, and I can tell you how to make him too. Stick around.
Howdy ho ho, yum yum yum, Christmas time has come!
So this project uses oven-baked clay, bendy wire arms, and some simple techniques that anybody can follow. Let's get started. So here's a list of the supplies you're going to need, and it's also in the description, as well as links to some of the items if you want to pick them up online. So sculpting Mr. Hankey's body. First, we start by getting a bunch of brown and then rolling it between our hands and the table. Body has 3 sections, a head, a body, and a lower portion. So you just kind of rub your fingers at 2 points to kind of delineate your neck and your waist areas. And then you can stand it on end if you like and squish that bottom part of the poo. So he's kind of standing up. I used a long outdoor screw, like a 4-inch screw, to go up the entire body to keep it steady. And it also helps in baking so it doesn't collapse. Alternatively, what you can do, and it might be a better way to do it, is roll up some aluminum foil and use it as an inner structure for stability. And it also decreases your bake time. If you're like me and you had older stiff clay, you can soften it by placing it in a plastic bag in warm water, kneading it thoroughly. Just a little bit of water that was residual on my hands was actually very helpful in smoothing the clay. So I guess a little water is okay. I would not manually add water, just whatever happens to be on your hands can really help out. Otherwise it'll get sticky. Creating and attaching the hat. So what I did was I first took the white clay and I rolled it into a long, thin cylinder, and then I looped it around and made a circle out of it and kind of blended it together on the ends. That's where a little dab of wetness might help. Unless you've got fresh stuff, then it's probably okay. And then put that on top of the head. I also kind of made a little cone on the head, like a pointy bit on the top of the poo head. So this round circle, this white circle, would fit on there nicely. And then I also took the red and made the hat, and just kind of what I did was I rolled it into a cone. And then what I did was I gradually bent that cone over so it looked like a collapsing hat. And I put that on top of the white part and made sure that was bent over. And I added that little pom-pom on the end, which is just a little ball of white clay. Detailing the face. So to carve the features, I used a sharp, thin knife to cut out the eyes. So I cut those into the face to cut out the eye sockets, or I cut the mouth into it, and I maybe cut mine a little deep, but to ensure better stability, maybe don't cut yours so deep. I cut the tongue and put that inside the mouth and kind of put a little indentation down the middle of the tongue. Then I cut and installed my white eyes. I cleaned up the edging of the mouth a little bit to kind of smooth it out. I cut circles in that white clay to dig out an area for pupils, and then I rolled up some little black balls and shoved them in there for pupils. Something to consider here is that anytime you're using white clay, wash your hands before you use it, because if you've touched red clay or black clay, it will get absorbed by that white clay and discolor it. Then I cut the little creases like dimples in the upper corners of the mouth. For making the hands, I kneaded up some white clay and then I flattened it out. I cut a thumb into it, and then what I did was I ran what is essentially like a toothpick around the base of the hand to give it a cuff. And then I pushed down gently on it to flatten out that base of the hand. I bent my fingers and thumb into a natural position. And this is what our man looks like so far before we bake him. It was at this point I realized I needed the internal structure and put the screw in there, but you should probably do it earlier. Because I made the body all in one solid piece. I measured the entire width of the body at the widest part. I got like 4.5 centimeters, and I ran that through ChatGPT based off of the baking requirements, and it recommended like 115 or 120 minutes. Sorry, my daughter is acting crazy. Oh, before I put the stuff in the oven, what I did was I wrapped it in oven bake wrap paper. I don't know what it's called, but I wrapped it in that. You could also wrap it in aluminum foil. It was just kind of something to avoid any scorching or anything like that on the surface of the item and to help ensure a little more even bake. So I put it in accordingly. I actually left it in there a little longer than was supposed to. Because the hands are much thinner, I pulled them out at 20 minutes. So after everything's all baked, for me, everything felt fine. If it feels soft to you at all or anything like that, you probably want to bake it a little longer. Because I have a screw going up the middle of the body, I needed to add my electrical wire to be my bendable arms. But what I did not want to do is try and drill through the screw. So I just try to point in the body that would go behind the screw. So that's just something to consider. And then I drilled straight through the body. I used a bit slightly larger than the gauge of the wire, so the wire would go through freely. And I drilled out the hands. And for the hands, I actually used a drill bit that was slightly smaller than the gauge of the wire, so it sat in there very snug. It kept the hands on very snug, and I can twist them around. So when it's going through the body, I'm using one big piece, so it's fine if it moves around. That allows me to shift it, and if I want one arm longer or whatever. After I put the wire through the body, I cut it to my desired length, and I attach the hands accordingly. And I adjusted the arms, and it seems like his right arm is normally down by his side, and his left arm is the one that's waving, and that's how I did mine. You might notice that during the baking process, the clay has shrunk, and the screw sticks out a little, making the base a little wobbly, so you might want to screw that screw in a little bit, or you could opt to pull it out. I kept mine in, though. So, final parts, placement. Put Mr. Hankey in a fun spot. I put mine on the shelf in the bathroom, so guests are nice and surprised when they see him when they come on in. So everybody who visits will leave with a little fun and festive memory. And that's it. Your Mr. Hankey is complete. Now you can add Mr. Hankey to your favorite holiday display. To see more like this, give it a like, subscribe, comment. Take care. I'm out.